Ladies and gents, things have played out very differently to what we thought might end up happening here in terms of resting. It's very different to last year, in my opinion, because the ladder hasn't been working on the computer, and we've got it on the phone here. But Storm definitely they're resting 100%, right? But Roosters, Sharks, and Panthers are all in the same point. So, and then with Dogs only one win behind, makes it pretty interesting for sure. Differentials like around 50 to 60 points difference each, Roosters, Sharks, and Panthers. Panthers being the lowest differential, actually. And they're actually sitting in fourth right now. So it's going to be really important for them to obviously get at least one more win here to make sure that they are ahead of the Dogs. So the Dogs are only 12 points differential behind them. So if Dogs were to win 2 games and Panthers were to win 1, the Dogs are very likely to go ahead of them, which is pretty crazy there for sure. So you've got the Cowboys behind, but I think they're more fighting for like that 5th spot rather than a spot in the top 4. But for Roosters, Sharks, and Panthers, they're going to be fighting for a home final, with Storm already locking in that minor premiership, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, Roosters, Sharks, and Panthers now, I think, a very, very low chance of resting, in my opinion. We'll have them at low as well, the Sharkies, because they are actually into third now. And if there's a way that they could lock up that second spot, which I think is very unlikely there with the Roosters, even if they were to lose, Sharks would have to win still their last game there to make sure they got into second in that position there. So yeah, Roosters, so they would still have to win too. So there's no real chance of them actually resting. And I think getting that second spot is going to be pretty important. So those 3 teams there, Sharks, Panthers, and the Roosters, are in that situation now where, yes, they have some, well, at least the Panthers and the Roosters are a much easier type of teams that they're going to be facing in the Rabbitohs Titans for the Panthers, and then the Raiders and the Rabbitohs for the Roosters. So it turns out now that anyone in that Roosters and that Panthers system are really good buys, and that absolutely hurts me to say, given I haven't jumped on Isaiah Yeo thinking that he would end up getting a rest. But for them to lose back-to-back weeks, they should have been in a situation where they were 1 win behind the Storm and 2 wins in front of Roosters and the Sharkies, and that's not to be now. And they're in that situation where they're down in 4th spot, which is pretty crazy after being in second just a couple of weeks ago. So they're the important sort of targets that we're looking at in this week is Panthers and the Roosters. They've got the 2 best runs, in my opinion, followed by the Knights, just because the Knights are a little bit lesser of a team than those 2, obviously. But they have the Titans and the Dolphins as well. So they're the top 3 buys if you have any trades left. And obviously a lot of people don't. But if you hear it for Supercoach or for Fantasy and you have any trades left, this is going to be pretty important and helpful to you to get things right. And maybe it is taking a little bit of a punt on some of the outside backs, especially in Supercoach standpoint, like a Brian To'o or something like that, even a Dom Young, a Tedesco. All these types of guys could come out and do really well over the last 2 weeks with the runs that are available to them. And then Knights with Ponga could be really, really fun over this last 2 weeks, and it's something that I might be looking at personally is getting Ponga into my side with, no chance of real resting in that one, and Titans and Dolphins who he could score plenty of points against and kick goals as well. In terms of buys now, we lose Cowboys, their last buy, but they do have Storm and the Dogs to finish off, which is going to be pretty tough. And the only saving grace here is how many of these Storm guys end up resting and which players it is, because you're probably going to see guys like Wishart take the 7 position or the 6, and you'll see like guys like Failongo and all these guys play. And I do think that they're still going to be strong enough because they're such a good club. But this could be a really good opportunity for Cowboys players, hopefully Cotter and Drinkwater in my team, to come out and play really well also. So they're the ones, the newest team on the block after their bye there. Tigers missed this week, obviously, so they're the loopers of the week. And any of your Storm players, an example for me, I don't think I have enough cash, but Blore to Ponga would have been nice, but not going to be the case. But Titans, they come up against the Knights, and I do think the Panthers will have to play that last game, especially all their guns. So 2 fairly tough matchups for them, and they're not playing great enough. So whoever you've got in there is just a clear hold and not really a buy. For the Finns there, they've got the Broncos and the Knights. So really important matchups for them. They want to try and make this 8. They're obviously in 10th spot at the moment, crazily enough behind the Broncos, which we wouldn't have expected coming in the last month anyway. But Dolphins just really struggling to get a win on the board. One of their last 5, unfortunately, and the Broncos are 2-2. in their recent history. So they're, along with the Broncos, Knights, Raiders, all still fighting for a spot in that 8. If Dragons were to lose both games, then it opens up a spot for teams like the Raiders as well. So the Finns are in there with the fight and they need to do well, but no one in there I'd really be targeting. Storm likely to rest this week. It sounds like 10 players is most likely what's happening. So yeah, keep an eye out on them. And maybe you want to sell one of those guys. Do they rest both games? I don't think so. You want some type of work in your legs coming into that first finals game, which is going to be such high intensity, I should say. Sharkies, they've got the Warriors and the Eagles, so 2 pretty fun matchups. I think they'll be fairly close ones at that. Maybe they'll get over the Warriors well here, but I'll be at that one and keen to watch them run around. Surprisingly enough, I'll have 0 players in that game, so just be there as a fan of SJ, and hopefully we see Nico back. That could be fun as well. But Panthers, as we spoke about already, the Rabbitohs there have the Panthers and they have the Roosters as well over the last 2 games, which could be super tough. And personally, owning a lot of Rabbitohs right now, it isn't looking great for my end of season unless they can all come out and score solidly enough, especially those like Damien Cook and Kolomatangi. They're too expensive and too good of players to be going low in back-to-back weeks. So let's hope for a bounce back from those guys. And Whiten can do his thing. He got 43 last week, which was good. Need Gray to do solidly as well. But all those guys could be sold as well. Gray especially, for example, there. Doggies, I had them on the good buys list, but they do play the Eagles and Cowboys now, which is a little bit harder. So expect closer games without a tremendous amount of points for them. Not too many guys that you'd probably grab now. That, you've got Preston having a rest last week. Does he come out and do well, or does he struggle a little bit as well? I think he had the rest last week. He should be fine this week. He had Salmon returning over the last few weeks to take some minutes off him. And then you've got Karaz, really, the big one, and Burton. I still think Burton's a great pick. It's probably the main guy you want to look at. For the Eels, it's just holds at the moment. Dragons into Tigers. So outside backs for them should be able to do pretty well over the next few weeks. Should be a close game against the Dragons. I'm not sure which way I'm going to tip that one. And the Tigers away to finish off the season will be a good fun one for any outside backs that you do have. For the Raiders next, they've got the Roosters and the Dragons both away. So a little tough little stretch for them. I think the Roosters could take them to Pound Town, that's for sure. And then the Dragons as well. They'll be fighting for their spot in the 8 as well. And most likely, unless it's all locked in. So that we'll see how that one plays out. If they're already just locked into the 8, by getting a win this week would be needed for them, because the Dragons their differential's poor, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So they're probably not going to be guaranteed. If the Broncos or Dolphins get a win this week, then they're still going to have to win both games. So pretty important for Dragons, both those games. And they're up next with the Eels and the Raiders. So guys like Lomax, still a pretty solid pick. Hunt potentially, but I think you can leave the Dragons for now. Spoke about the Knights. We've got the Broncos there. They've got the Finns and the Storm. Have to win both games, but if the Storm rest this game, it's going to be a tough matchup with all of their guys fully rested and ready to go, that's for sure. So Broncos, you got Adam Reynolds, who's an interesting one. Picked up a big score last week. Can he do it again? Trying to get them over the line. Do you make sure you get Carrigan in your side? There's all questions around that. For the Eagles, they do have the Dogs and the Sharks, so it gets a little bit harder. Can Tommy continue to dominate? Does DCE back up and play a bit better? And I think he will get some good kick meters and the like there. Hopefully a 60 score or something like that. But not too many to target per se. And then the Wires, they got one more game. So if you do want to jump on AFB, I think he's the guy to look at. And that's probably it from the Wires. If you want to jump on SJ for one last hurrah before they are done for the season next week, and you can just use them as loopers if we don't have too many restings. And I'm not sure if we're going to get any restings in round 27. It's pretty interesting how that one's actually playing out this season compared to last year. So we might all be worrying a bit too much about something that isn't going to occur as much as it did last year. Every year's so different, isn't it? It's hard to work out sometimes. We spoke about the Roosters and then the Cowboys as well. So there you go, guys. Just a quick iteration of the impact of the next 2 games. We're going to name this one. And I hope that helped you guys. And I wish you all the best of luck heading into round 26. We'll have our buy, hold, sell out tomorrow. Tomorrow. And we'll get into those team lists this afternoon. Just make sure a quick reminder, guys, that I will be doing a finals NRL fantasy with my own rules and my own scoring system, which is going to be plenty of fun. So stick your head out for that one. Be ready to go. And we'll see you at the back end of round 27 and into the start of the finals for that one as well. So see you guys. Have a good one.